All right, peace and power and elevation be to all you beautiful people out there. This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. Live in effect. I hope everybody's having a good day. This is very rare that I'm doing the video on a Friday, but I have time today. So today I want to put my focus on Haiti and what's currently taking place at the moment. I know many of y'all have heard about what the incident that happened as far as the border patrol taking whips and hitting the Haitian immigrants or migrants. So they were trying to cross the borderline to get the Texas to come into the United States. But I on the flip side of that, I seen a lot of criticism regarding to the Haitian people from people who represent a particular group called the ADOS and FBA. I see people that's throwing shades at the for no apparent reason, and with that being said, that brings a lot of conflict and problems. So I want to be able to get into the history about Haiti, and not just as far as the Haitian Revolution, but I want to put my focus on the Haitian Americans and the work they have done and how they contribute here in America. Because, I mean, it's a long list of people that are Haitian descent that has made a contribution in America, even during the time period uh, before the Jim Crow, the Civil Rights era, and all of that stuff. Okay. And during those periods. So you go down a long list of people, right? You can talk about Jean-Baptiste du Sablé, who founded Chicago. Um, you can go into the list about the Haitian helping the African Americans be able to migrate over to Haiti and not Sierra Leone, Dominican Republic area. Um, it's so many things. Their contribution in the music industry. It's a lot. So when we sit here and make these type of when we sit up here and try to throw shades at the Haitian people, it was the Haitian people that inspired Black people, not only here in this continent, but also in South America, to rebel against slavery. So because Haiti is the first country to earn its independence, that brought inspiration to other Blacks throughout the diaspora. Just looking at Haiti as a prime example. But anyways, today I want to talk about Little Haiti, which is a neighborhood section of Miami. And I want to get in and talk about Viter Juste. Viter Juste. So, Viter Juste was the founder of Little Haiti. And I tried to dig up as much information as I possibly can about him and Little Haiti. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the information about Viter Juste, and then I'm going to talk about Little Haiti. All right, so thank you guys in the chat. Peace to the chat. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Brother Centavo, Brother Umi, I see you. Shout out to you guys. Thank you guys that has been subscribing to my channel, hitting the notification bell. Also, give me your comments in the video, in the chat, and also in the comment section. So make sure you guys subscribe and share this channel and check out the other contents that I have done on here. All right. Shout out to Brother Ibibo. Shout out to you, brother. Thank you for coming through. All right, so let's go ahead and let's look at Viter Juste. Who is Viter Juste? I'm sorry, Ibibio. I'm gonna get it right. I'm working on it. All right, so I hope you guys can see the screen. So Viter Juste was born on December 15th, 1924. He passed away on November 19th of 2012. And this is come from Wiki1 website, which is another branch or another part of Wikipedia. Okay. It said he was a Haitian-born American community leader, businessman, and activist. Jesuit coined the name Little Haiti for the neighborhood in Miami, Florida, which is a center of Haitian American community in Florida. He is considered the father of the Haitian American community in Miami. All right, and then check this out. It says down here his early life. Viter Juste was born on the island of La Gonave, a Haitian island in the Gulf of Gonave on December 15, 1924. His father was a businessman. Viter Juste received a college degree in business and accounting. In 1946, Jesuit opened his first business, a supermarket located in the Haitian capital, Port-au-Prince. He later shuttled his supermarket in order to take a position with a disease eradication program operated by the United Nations. And his move to the United States. Jesuit life in Haiti changed in the aftermath of 1951 Haitian presidential election, which was won by Francois Papa Duvalier. Duvalier would later become a dictator responsible for the deaths of thousands and the flight of many professionals from the country. Jesuit, who had openly supported Duvalier's main opponent, Louis DeJoy, in the election, decided to leave Haiti for the United States for the safety of himself and his family. He initially moved to Texas before living in New York City for several years. In 1973, Jesuit, his wife Maria, and their children moved to Miami, Florida. Advocacy. In 1972, 1 year before Jesuit moved to Miami, the first known documented boat carrying Haitian refugees landed in South Florida. 2 years later, now let me read that again. In 1972, 1 year before Jesuit moved to Miami, Florida, first known documented boat carrying Haitian refugees landed in South Florida. 2 years later, Viter Juste held a 1974 meeting with Monsignor Bryant Wash of the Roman Catholic Church in an effort to help the refugees. In the 1974 collaboration between Wash and Jesuit resulted in the creation of Haitian American Community Association of DADE, which was one of the first social service organizations founded specifically to cater to the needs of the Haitian community in Miami. Jesuit served as one of the association first directors. The meeting between Jesuit and Wash effectively launched Jesuit's career as an advocate and activist on behalf of South Florida's Haitian immigrant and Haitian American community. Jesuit led a community boycott against a local branch of the Winn-Dixie supermarket, which had openly discriminated against Haitians. He also protected against the Miami-Dade County Public School during the 1970s after the Miami-Dade School Board refused to allow undocumented Haitian students to enroll in the school district. Jesuit's fight with the Miami-Dade School District led him to coin the term Little Haiti for the largely Haitian American neighborhood of Miami, historically known as Lemon City. According to Jean-Claude Egelin, a retired professor of history and friend of Jesuit since 1977, Jesuit authored an article in the Miami Herald in which he first referenced to the neighborhood as Little Port-au-Prince. However, editors at the Miami Herald found the name Little Port-au-Prince too long, so the newspaper shortened the term in the headlines to Little Haiti. The name stuck and has been widely used for the neighborhood. Jesuit also worked to advance the Haitian American community in business and media. Jesuit was the first person in Miami to establish a French language weekly newspaper targeted to Haitian Americans. His newspaper, which consists of 12 pages, cost readers just 25 cents. Jesuit also opened Les Cousins Records and Books, which was the first store in Miami to sell Haitian Creole and French language music and books. Jesuit moved Les Cousin record and books to Little Haiti. Jesuit is also considered a pioneer in adult education in Miami. He was the first person to establish an adult education program held in the evenings, which allowed working people to attend his classes. Jesuit taught both English language classes and skills to assimilate into larger American society. Now, with that being said, Jesuit has done his tremendous work with as far as the Haitian community is concerned. So for him, the reason why, let me tell you something. Each diaspora community have their own little community. Okay, that's gonna happen. So, like if you go to New York, there's a lot of diversity. Florida is a diverse state, especially Miami is very diverse, and New Orleans is very diverse as well. So there's going to be a community for each group of people, a subculture. So Jesuit's primary focus was on the Haitian American community, of course, because by him being Haitian and coming from Haiti, he was looking for a community, an area where the Haitian people can feel safe and be able to go and get the proper education, be able to find work, and be able to focus on resources there, because they could not feel safe in Haiti. And to this day, Haiti is still going through financial crisis, as far as they still owe money to France after the revolution. And you know how long ago that been. Okay, we're talking about the revolution was around 1790, somewhere like that. And to this day, they still owe money. So they going through a lot of crisis, all the earthquakes and everything that's taking place, all the crimes that's happening over there. So they was just trying to find somewhere where they can go and be able to practice their culture very safely, right? So Florida was a place, and South Florida was a reminder of home. So he built that. He did something. Now, instead of sitting up here and looking down upon the Haitian community, try to learn something. If you can learn how to network and build some type of continuity, then the diaspora will be able to expand, not just with the Haitians, but also with other culture like the Jamaicans, the Bahamian, and all of that. You know what I mean? Everybody will be able to operate as one. Do you know that it will build a stronger Black nation if we all learn how to network? But because we are focused on this dichotomy and separation amongst ourselves as a people, we have not learned how to build a strong network, a stronger community. But I'm quite sure Little Haiti is probably going through some situation where there's gentrification taking place, because you know what that means. When something being gentrified, the dominant group want to come in and take over. But yes, they did what they had to do. So it's a lot. You're going to find that it's a lot of diversity taking place in major cities. There's a lot of diversity. There's a lot of diversity in Atlanta. It's just what it is. All right, later life. Jesuit, who suffered from diabetes and dementia during his later life, died at an assisted living facility in North Miami, Florida on November 19, 2012. At the age of 87, he was survived by Jesuit by two daughters, Chantel Jesuit Watson, Maria Bland, three sons, Carl Jesuit, a photojournalist for the Miami Herald, Wagner and Patrick Jesuit, 15 grandchildren and 15 great-grandchildren. Jesuit was predeceased by his wife of 60 years. Maria died in 2008 and two sons. The Archbishop Thomas Winsky of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Miami, who had known Victor Juste since 1979 said of him following his death, he was a man passionate for making his mark in the Haitian community. Both as a businessman and as a community leader, he was a pioneer, paved the way for young generation of Haitians to follow. Former Haitian political prisoners and history professor Jean-Claude Egelin, who first Jesuit in 1977, also paid tribute to Jesuit, telling the Miami Herald, "This is a huge loss for the community. We didn't always agree on Haiti, but on the plan for the community. Here we were together." All right, so that's the background story of Viter Juste. So now let's look into Little Haiti. I mean, most of the information, of course, I read about. But this is what Little Haiti looks like from the photo. It looks like a little nice little area. I've never been to Miami before, but I would love to go. I would love to visit that area. Okay, so let's see what it says. It is neighborhood of Miami, Florida, United States. It is known historically as Lemon City, Little River, and Edison. It is home to many Haitian immigrants, as well as many residents from the rest of the Caribbean. It is a known neighborhood of Haitian exile. The area is characterized by its French Creole designation, with a street life, restaurants, art gallery, dance, music, theater performances, family-owned enterprise, and other cultural activities. All right. And then it says a 13 bronze statue of General Toussaint Louverture, the father of Haitian Revolution, stands on North Miami Avenue and 62nd Street. Wow. All right, so it says the area known as Little Haiti was Lemon City for over a century. Several people settled near Biscayne Bay, north of Miami River, after the Civil War, squatting on unclaimed land. Some of the squatters eventually applied for homestead grants for the land they were squatting on. By 1889, a community had formed with a post office named Motto. Lemon City replaced Motto as the same name of the community by 1893. A school had opened in 1890 in Lemon City, also included several businesses and newspaper, as well as port facilities on Biscayne Bay. The extension of the Florida East Coast Railway to Miami in 1896. Miami quickly overshadowed Lemon City. All right, so it does get into Viter Juste. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip down. It says, over the objection of various groups, including historians, African-American Bahamians, City of Miami commissioners in May of 2016 voted in favor of designing Little Haiti as an official neighborhood with boundaries overlapping the historic Lemon City and Edison, which was founded by Bahamian immigrants before Miami existed. Let me read that again. Over the projection of various groups, including historians, African Americans, and Bahamians, City of Miami commissioners in May of 2016 voted in favor of designing or designating Little Haiti as an official neighborhood with boundaries overlapping the historic Lemon City and Edison, which was founded by Bahamian immigrants before Miami exists. So the Bahamian immigrants came before there was a name called Miami. All right, so the borders, it sits on the southern border in north along the Miami City boundary on northwest and northeast 80th Street. It then goes back down along northeast 2nd Avenue. Okay, so the demographics. As of 2000, Little Haiti had a population of 29,128 with 9,368 households and 6,181 families residing in the neighborhoods. The median household income was $18,887.49. The racial makeup of the neighborhood was 64.92% Black or African American, 4.78% white, non-Hispanic. 14.74% was Hispanic or Latino of any race, and 15.56% other races. So the median income household was $18,887.49. Think about that for a moment. I want you guys to think about that for a moment. $18,887.49. What does that sound like to you? That sounds like the poverty line. And once again, this area is predominantly where you find a lot of Haitian people. So I want the people that is in the ADOS and the FBA movement to think about this. If the median income is $18,887.49, what does that tell you? What does that show you? But I hear people say, well, they taking over resources, this, that, and other. We built this land, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. Okay, just because they got their own community doesn't mean they are doing well or they doing great. That doesn't mean they don't face discrimination or racism. Just because there's a little section, just because you find a little Haitian community or Jamaican community, Bahamian community, Dominican Republic community, that doesn't mean they don't deal with racism. Why you think they had to start their own little community? Because of the racism. Because they could not just go into a white community, just like Black Americans, African Americans. We can't go into just all white community. Because what happened? If so many of them went into the community where it's predominantly Caucasian Europeans, guess what? A lot of those Europeans would have been left the area and they would have to figure out how to fend for themselves. And the property values would have went down and the median income would have went down. Because by the Europeans and Asians being the predominant groups that makes the most income in this country. Anytime you got any other groups that's in the lower income range and they come and live in the areas where it's predominant groups, then that predominant group's going to want to move out. They're going to move out the areas because they don't want to necessarily be bothered with these group of people. So don't get twisted thinking that, they got their own little neighborhood. They got it going on, this, that, and the other. They getting wealthy and all that. That's not necessarily true. And again, a lot of y'all play into this dichotomy concept from the government, from the same government or the same people that has oppressed you and the Haitians and the Jamaicans. You play into this dichotomy concept. You play into the hands of the people who have taken away your power and your ability to be able to create and build. All right. Let's go ahead and continue. It says the zip code for Little Haiti includes 33127, 33137, 33138, and 33150. The area covers 456 square miles. As of 2000, there were 14,708 males and 15,357 females. The median age for males were 31.0 years old. The median age for females were 33.8 years old. The average household size had 3.0 people, while the average family size had 3.7 members. The percentage of married couple among all households was 27.6%, while the percentage of married couples, families with children among all households was 13.8%. And the percentage of single mother households among all households was 20.7%. 2.1% of the population were in nursing homes. The percentage of never married males 15 years old and over was 21.7%. while the percentage of never married female 15 years old and over was 22.0%. Then it goes on to talk about the food. It says the food rooted in Haitian immigrants that sought refugees here in the 80s. Today, Little Haiti has some Afro-Caribbean culture mixed with global trends. Restaurants in this area showcase a diversity and mixed taste of and settings. All right. But you know what? I have a question. I have a question because I thought all this time, I thought the Haitian people were considered as being Latinos. I thought they were Latinos. But on the flip side, they're also considered as Caribbeans. So now I'm just a little confused because I'm trying to figure out, are they considered as Latinos or Caribbean? Because I thought technically speaking, they're Latinos. Or that's just something that is mighty strange. Maybe, I don't know. I might have to ask a Haitian one day, do they consider themselves as being Latino or do they consider themselves as being Caribbean? Because their music, if you guys ever heard Haitian music, it sounds very much so like Caribbean music. So at all this time, I thought they was Caribbean, but technically speaking, they're considered as Latino. I mean, I'm just a little confused by that. I was just wondering. All right. Anyway, it says culture. Little Haiti's main strip is NE Northeast 2nd Avenue. This region is ripe for improvement, as one local activist in the area put it. Neighboring Wynwood and Design District have become popular arts and culture havens with streets lined with galleries and commercial arts storefronts. The whole area in just a handful of years have been overtaken by an artistic energy and appreciation for high design and street art. With the development of Wynwood and the Design District and the increasing price for space in those areas, Little Haiti, Lemon City, and Little River have emerged as an art haven, excuse me. The programming at the Little Haiti Cultural Center offers local community initiatives. Located next door, the Caribbean Marketplace was designed by Charles Harrison Pauly in the style of the typical Haitian gingerbread architecture. All right, and so these are the names of the park. They got the Little Haiti Soccer Park, Lemon City Park between Northeast 58 Torrance and Northeast 59th Street, Atelier Range Park. And it says education. Miami-Dade County Public School runs area public schools. Schools within Little Haiti includes Toussaint Leopold Elementary School, Jesse J. McCrary Elementary, Edison Park, the Cushman School. Then you got the middle school, Miami Edison Middle School. And then the high school is iTech at Thomas Edison Educational Center, Miami Edison Senior High School. And then you got the libraries, which is Miami-Dade Public Library System operates all area public libraries, including Lemon City Branch Library, Edison Center Library, and Little River Library. And then they got the Cultural Institute, which is the Caribbean Marketplace, Cathedral of St. Mary, the Haitian Cultural Arts Alliance. All right, so you can find out more information right here. Got the Haiti-United States relation, the Haitian Americans, the list of them, the United States, and the Haitian Revolution. Then you can look down here to the reference at the very bottom, the external links, also the Little Haiti's Insider Guide. All right. So let's see. There's a book that I found. It's called Haitian Americans by Nicole Bryant. This came out in 2004. So this Haitian American girl lives in Little Haiti section of Miami, Florida. Oh, she's so pretty. All right, so it goes off talking about a troubled past. Haiti is a small country in the Caribbean Sea. It is located on the western end of an island called Hispaniola. The eastern part of Hispaniola is home to Haiti's neighbor, the Dominican Republic. Christopher Columbus, an Italian explorer on a journey for Spain, landed on Hispaniola in 1492. Since his landing, the area has had a troubled history. The Spaniards made the native people slaves. Most of Hispaniola's native people died under this harsh treatment. The French took control of the western end of Hispaniola in 1797. In the 1700s, the French brought African slaves to work on this land. These slaves eventually revolted, winning their freedom in 1804. They formed the country of Haiti. Freedom, however, didn't solve all of Haiti's problems. For the next 200 years, governments and dictators struggled for power in Haiti. Then in 1915, the United States invaded Haiti in an effort to bring order to the country. The U.S. occupation lasted 19 years. Haiti's trouble worsened when a man named Francois Duvalier was elected president in 1957. He was a cruel dictator. His son, who ruled after him, was also a dictator. The people of Haiti protested against Duvalier's son. He eventually fled the country in 1986. The next year, election to choose a new president ended when the military violently took over the country. When I tell you these people went through a lot, they done been through a lot. All right, so it says elections were held again in 1990. A man named Jean Benjard Astade was elected president. The next year, the military regained control when soldiers threw Astade out of the country. It seems that Haiti's political problems would never end. And during this time, many Haitians tried to leave by boat. Many of them suffered or died on the voyage from their native land. The U.S. Coast Guard picked up about 35,000 Haitians in 1991, 1992. Most were returned to Haiti. Despite this, refugees kept trying to reach the United States. Does that sound very common? It's happening today. And what did they do? They sent over, according to the news, they sent over 1,400 Haitians back to Haiti or sent them elsewhere because there was refugees that was trying to get in here. So as of 2021, 1,400 Haitians were sent back to either Haiti or they sent to other places besides America. It says in 1994, U.S. troops again went to Haiti to try to restore democracy. President Astade was able to return. American forces tried to keep the peace. Then in 2000, Astade was reelected to the head of the government. Many Haitians protested. They believed the election were rigged and that Astade was becoming a dictator. Then it goes on to say some people hope that Democratic election would bring real change to Haiti, but most of Haiti's 7 million people are still poor. Many Haitian workers work as farmers. Poor farming practices, however, have caused the soil to lose its fertility. This makes it even harder for Haitians to grow food and to make money. In fact, the average Haitian makes less than $400 a year. Much of Haiti's land has been deforested. Today, less than 5% of Haiti is forest. That means people have little wood to burn for cooking and eat and for heat. There are a few paved roads and there are no working railroads. Severe weather such as hurricanes and droughts also makes life difficult for Haitians. In 1998, Hurricane George struck the island. More than 400 people died and thousands lost their home. Though international groups tried to help, conditions were terrible. More boats filled with refugees left the island. With all these problems, some Haitian leaders hope that foreigners will support the island with money. But because of government corruption and the flood of refugees, many people are afraid to invest in Haiti. With little hope for their country, Haitians continue to leave for the United States. That's very deep. And you can see it's happening again. All right. So the name of the book is called Haitian Americans. All right. So all right, so that's all the information that I have to present for today. I hope you guys learned something, got something valuable out of it. Again, you can check out the information on these websites. You can go on Wikipedia. You can look it up on Google Scholars. Um, and you can find books. So if you're really serious about your studies and you want to look into details, there's nothing wrong with using Google because you'll come across some valuable information on Google if you know what you're looking for and know how to go look for it and versus just getting any old random stuff, but just getting something that is very accurate and legitimate. So again, we have to really study more into the history. Going back to what I was saying at one point, that American history, when we talk about slavery is an international business. It's not just a United States business. And we're going to talk about being American descendants of slaves. Those American descendants of slaves could consist of not just the people that come directly from the continent of Africa, but also the people that comes directly from the Caribbeans and Latin America as well. Okay. So we got to dive deep into this and we got to really think about this carefully. If you talking about being a foundational Black America, or you won't be that foundational Black America if it wasn't for those slaves that came from the Caribbean, those slaves that were brought directly from the continent. You wouldn't be that. So, and that goes the same way for the Adolfs. All right. But anyways, with that being said, I hope you guys have a good one. Until next time, may peace and power elevation be to all of you. This your girl, Tiffany, and I'm logging off. Thank you for watching.